Alright, David Harry here. Now, at the moment, if you've got a GoPro Hero9 Black, you may be having difficulties getting hold of a media mod for it. And indeed, if you already have one of the older GoPro Pro 3.5mm mic adapters, you may well be running into issues there because that is no longer compatible with the Hero9. GoPro have recently done something which disables that from working with the Hero9. Now, couple those two things together, and there's going to be a lot of people who can't use external microphones with their Hero9. Now, what I've decided to do here is to do a video showing the best possible way to get your audio from the Hero9 using its internal microphone system. Now, at the start of this video, there would have been something that popped up saying to people like, the video starts at whatever time. I don't know right now because I still don't know how long this intro is going to be. So if that's all you're interested in is listening to the results, then use that time that's on the screen. In fact, I'll have the time on the screen now to where the video starts. But I'm going to explain before I do that what is going on here, because you really need to know this if you want to try and do the same thing yourself. So what it is, the Hero9 has two microphones. One on the top, which is that little tiny like pinprick thing, that is actually a microphone. Then it also has the obvious microphone that you can easily see on the front. Now, I'm not entirely sure if they kind of go through some kind of submix inside the camera, or if indeed elements of both of those microphones are used to do some kind of a phase variant within the two channels that are recorded. Regardless of what goes on there are definitely two discrete channels recorded, left and right, or channel 1 and channel 2. So bear that in mind. Now what it is, when you listen to the audio recorded off a Hero9, there is some kind of spatial information in there. It is not the widest of stereo fields or anything, but it does hold a certain amount of spatial information. Now, after doing a fair bit of experimentation, I've worked out that out of the two channels, whatever is in channel 2 or the right channel is either wholly or predominantly the front channel. And then channel 1 or the left channel is either predominantly or wholly the top microphone here. And what's important to note here is that the top microphone definitely has an omni response. So if you listen to the left channel on its own isolated, you will definitely hear an omni response from that microphone, which basically means it's going to pick all the noises up from everywhere around you. However, if you isolate the right channel, which is, like I say, either predominantly or wholly this mic here on the front, it somehow seems to have some kind of directional qualities to it. I don't think it is a cardioid microphone, although it does appear to have cardioid characteristics. Nonetheless, the front microphone here, which is channel 2 or right in the stereo mix that you get out of the camera, it is actually the better of the two channels to concentrate on for your dialogue. Also, the top mic here, which is on the left, that also, it kind of sounds not as weighted, and it's a bit more brittle sounding as well. So between the two, not only does the front mic here predominantly give like an almost cardioid response, and I say almost, I get into all this in the video, but it is also a bit more weighty in its sound as well. So it's got a bit more bass response to it and stuff like that, which a lot of people kind of like that. Now, what I've decided to do with this video is go out, do a vlog, and then when I get back in, all I do is split the left and the right, or channel 1 and channel 2, split them up, and I only use channel 2 or the right channel. I center it into the mix, and then all I do is apply a limiter to raise up the level and raise it by a fair amount as well, just so it's quite punchy. So everything that you hear now is all done off the front microphone and nothing else. And like I say, that is channel 2 or the right channel centered into the middle. Get rid of channel 1, throw it away, and then I just use the limiter to raise the level and get it a bit more punchier. Now, there's a thing here as well that I've been using, and it is this. And what this is one of those cheap foam things that goes right over the camera. So let me just show you what this looks like. Right, so this is now this foam thing on the camera, and obviously I've got it on a pistol grip, and to be honest, this here is actually a very small system to go out with to do vlogging, and it's really easy to hold and stuff. Now let me just get this close. I'm gonna lose the mic here a bit. So as we can see there, it is literally just like this big foam cover. Well, not big as it were, but it's this foam cover that just covers right round the camera. And if we have a look around the back there, hopefully we're getting a bit of focus somewhere along the line here. So you can see the screen through the back, and effectively all the bits on the camera that need covering are covered, except there's a slight little bit not covered here on the side. I'll go into that in the video anyway. Now, this particular foam filter cover thing, when I got it, it said for the 8 and the 9. So that's a bit of an alarm bell, because obviously the 8 and the 9 are two different size cameras. So I think this is actually designed for the 8, although you've just seen what it looks like. It does actually fit, and it works on the 9 as well. Anyway, get into a bit more about this in the actual testing of it. So yeah, I'll explain more about it. And the little thing here at the side where not all of it is covered by it. Okay, so this introduction has been quite lengthy, and it has to be, because I need to explain this properly so people, one, understand what's going on technically to do with the microphones, and then what I do in post-production with it, and then also they need to kind of see exactly what is going on. Anyways, here's the video, and I'll do a bit of a summary at the end. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do here for testing the microphone is to just do my usual little walk in the park area. Now, right now, there is hardly any people in the park, so there's less distractions as far as other noises are concerned. Now, there is a slight breeze, and when I say slight breeze, it is picking up and down a bit, and it is the type of breeze which can interfere with small microphones, because anybody who uses like these little tiny mics, I mean, if anyone's familiar with my old videos and stuff, I build a lot of microphones, and I use like small capsules and build these little omni and cardioid straight and angled mics, you know, for things like phones, action cams, cameras, stuff like that. But what happens is, once you get down to like these like 10mm and below capsules for these things, they generally, especially for the cardioids, they generally get amazingly bad for wind, and they become almost useless, to be honest, because as much as what some of them can and do sound really good, when you're out and about doing like effective vlogging where you can't cherry pick your environments and stuff, it's gone breezy again, where you can't cherry pick your environments, you may be subject to like breezes and wind and stuff. The problem with these little tiny like micro or nano microphones is that you can't effectively cover them with anything that will reduce the wind without swamping the microphone, in which instance then you have to say to yourself, well, you might as well go and use a Rode Video Micro or something and use its very effective dead cat. So yes, what I'm doing here is just kind of proving the point that this microphone is actually very good at one particular thing, and that is handling the wind and stuff. Now remember, I don't have the wind function switched on in the GoPro, and the reason for that is because with the wind function on, the sound will go amazingly dull. It's not worth having on. But with this foam over the top and all that, or around the camera, and bear in mind, this one, it's sold as being compatible with the 8 and the 9. You know, it's a bit of a lie. Although it does effectively cover the front microphone anyway. You just kind of block a bit of the front screen with it. For me, it's not a problem, and when the screen is on, I can actually see something on it anyway. So I think, you know, until one comes out which is dedicated to the 9, this particular one is definitely doing the job of covering over the microphones. And for the best part, that porting at the side, not that drain thing that we get on the 9, that drain thing is also a source of like air movement, so that indeed will become problematic with wind as well, because that will allow wind movement or air movement to go behind the microphone inside. Now for the best part, that is covered, although part of it isn't. So hopefully these slight breezes are not interfering with that. Anyway, David, so what's the point you're getting at here? The point that I'm getting at is regardless of whether you like the tone of this microphone, regardless of whether or not you think it can be like sweetened in post and stuff, there is the advantage of this mic not being overly sensitive naturally to wind movement, so it does lend itself for vlogging on that point of view. And like I say, if the sound of it is something that you can live with, or if indeed you may just go, do you know what, that sounds great, I like it, then brilliant. Then in that instance, all you would have to do is throw on one of these foam things and you're laughing. Anyways, let me just do a little bit of a cardioid test, then I'll carry on and do something else. Now, when I say cardioid test, really what I mean to say is a polar pattern test, because the assumption here is that when you say cardioid test, you're dealing with a cardioid microphone, which is still something that I don't know yet about this mic, what its natural polar characteristics are. And the reason for that is because it does respond quite odd. Now, that could be down to a whole number of things. I'm not even going to try second guessing it at this point. I'm just going to turn it around and let's hear what it does. So right now, if this were a cardioid, I would be on axis. Now, I am now 90 degrees off axis, and I'm not entirely sure, but because the porting is on this side for the mic, it may well still be picking me up. And I don't know, could even go a little brighter maybe. It's gone a bit windy there. I don't know just yet. But when I turn it around 180 degrees, which would be typically off axis, as in there, we should have noticed that I've dropped off a little bit. It may even be quite considerable, because there is no other like sources of reflection around here for my voice to bounce back off really. So this may have dropped off quite a bit. Now, there is the other 90-degree axis there, and I think from my very rough tests, this also was a bit quieter than the front, maybe a bit duller as well, which is all a good thing. And then when I get back around to being right in line with the microphone, which would typically be on axis or at 0 degrees to a cardioid patterned microphone, this now should have gone louder again, or you know, back to its like, you know, its right level. Now, just quickly here, without getting too boring about stuff, what is really odd about this, you will definitely have noticed some forms of dropping off as the camera was being turned around. Now, usually that would be a sign of a cardioid response, because even with an omni microphone, its polar pattern is omnidirectional, and no matter where you would turn one of those, you would definitely be roughly the same level, whether you think you're behind or in front or whatever. And also, when an omni mic is inside the body of something, although the body can impede the pickup slightly from a various, you know, from like whatever direction, a particular direction, it still is an omni nonetheless, but maybe it gets slightly impeded. However, that turning around there is far more reduction in level than what an omni should be, even placed inside a body which is obstructing part of like the directions of the audio entering the omni. So yeah, I don't know. Yes, that's a bit boring. Shut up, Dave, get past it. But for anyone who's interested in this type of stuff, have a think about that yourself. It does exhibit like almost like it is a cardioid, but I don't know if it is or it isn't. Anyways, what I'm going to do now, let's see, I'll do a little sit off somewhere and do a little test sitting down with the mic. So a little bit of a sit off on the park bench. Right, so what I'm going to do is just yammer on for a little bit here. I don't need to do too much, I don't think, because again, with this kind of microphone system, because it is not exactly ideal compared to other types of microphones, I think you're a bit more restricted really what you can do with it. Although if it does end up being something that you do like the sound of, then it quite possibly becomes the best microphone you've got actually. Although in practice and in use, it does have a lot more restrictions to its use compared to another microphone. As a for instance, I've just been out doing stuff with the Rode Video Mic Pro Plus. Now with that particular mic, that has a number of uses. So when you do something to do with a microphone like this, then yeah, you know, your videos can be a little bit more in depth with a little bit more testing. Only because that type of microphone can be like, you know, it can be adapted to a number of scenarios. This mic obviously can't. It is fixed to the camera. It will only sound a certain way at best, and yeah, other characteristics which will define it as not being as good as another microphone also will be the characteristics that get in the way of doing crazy mad testing with it. However, what we've heard right now is me just sitting off, doing a little relaxed thing and giving us a really good example of how this microphone is sounding. Now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to shoot off to the busy road, and although it's not really a cardioid test, because I don't think it is a cardioid microphone, although it will exhibit a certain amount of kind of dropping off and whatnot, I'll do it anyway. Let's get an idea of that. Okay, so I'm right by this busy road right now. So what I'm going to do is turn the camera around. There's this traffic behind the camera, and so therefore behind the microphone. Let's see what starts happening as I'm turning around. So that's 190-degree axis right there. Now, I'm pointing the camera straight into the traffic now. What's happening there with my voice? There's the other 90-degree there, and then there we are, right back around to myself. Now what I'm going to do is pretty much the same thing, but where I turn with the camera. So I'm constantly talking to the camera to its front, but I'm turning in and out of the traffic. Okay, so again, similar type of test, but this time what it is, I'm pointing straight at the traffic with me standing in between the microphone and the traffic. So let me get this traffic on the go behind me here. Yeah, there's some right now. So hopefully we still can hear me okay, but what I'm going to do is turn around so that obviously the camera's tracking me, but the source of the noise other than my voice is coming from a different angle to the microphone. Okay, so with that turning around there, that should give us an idea of like how well or not that the microphone was picking me up, when obviously I'm pointing straight into traffic where my voice is in front of the microphone. Now just to round off this testing, what I'm going to do here is just walk a little bit down the pathway next to the road, and of course there are going to be a lot of noises, such as that siren off the police car there and stuff. So whilst I'm not directly pointing into the traffic, which may or may not be a thing because we still don't really know if this is a cardioid mic or not, but nonetheless, just walking adjacent to the road as I am now is definitely going to give us another idea of how well or not the microphone is responding or picking up my voice against all the other noises. Obviously in this instance it's traffic. Now I know some people are probably going to be thinking, but Dave, you know, surely you're being really unfair here, you know, especially for such a microphone. Well, not really, no. And the reason why not really no is because we do need to know what these things are capable of, because there is no way that you're going to go out vlogging or indeed just like, you know, recording whatever, like family stuff, you know, like holiday things. There is no way you're going to do that and you can guarantee that you're not going to be around like noisy stuff like traffic and things like that. So that is the reason why I have to do these things. It's just to give us like, you know, as many possible kind of like examples of where the mic will work best or where it might not work so good and things like that. Because obviously sitting off in the park at the bench or just walking in the park, you know, where it's nice and quiet, that's definitely the best environment for a microphone for doing vlogging. But right now, you know, a lot of people have to go through stuff like this, walking past traffic when they're doing their daily vlogging. Anyways, shut up, Dave, with all that boring nonsense. Get indoors, have a quick listen, and don't drag out the ending. Okay, so to an end summary then. Now, I did all the explaining for the technical stuff at the beginning of the video, so no need to repeat any of that. However, if you've just listened to that and you've thought to yourself, one, either, yeah, that's passable, or two, you've listened and gone, that sounds good to me, then in that instance, this particular setup is going to be the cheapest and smallest setup that you could possibly do for any GoPro like the 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. But with the 9, and I've not done a side-by-side with it yet with the 8, but I do believe that the 9 is slightly better with the internal microphones, hence why isolating just the front mic does give you some better audio than what you may have got off the 5, 6, 7 or 8. So right now, if you've liked what you've heard there, and that's either good enough for you, or if indeed you really do like it and you're thinking, well, what's all the fuss with external microphones about? If that is the case, I would strongly recommend trying it out, because it definitely is the smallest setup. Well, for a GoPro 9, definitely. You know, going out with just that is dead easy. And all you do, you take like the pistol grip off, put it in your pocket and put the rest of it in the other pocket. There is no denying that is such a small setup. Now, I personally do think it is okay. And anyone who watches my videos knows I'm into my microphones and all that stuff. And despite the fact that I'm into microphones and I'm all about, like, you know, trying to get the highest picture quality and the highest audio quality for things, I do have to say, you can't beat this system for convenience. And for me, it's more than passable. In certain instances, when I was out there, you know, some of it sounded actually really good. Other bits maybe not as good as other bits and all the rest of it. Now, I'm not going to go dissecting all the various elements, because you know exactly what's going on. We're just using it on its own. So it's up to you to kind of figure out for yourself whether it's good enough for your use when it's got loads of traffic around it, or if you're in relatively quiet environments, is it going to be good enough for you and stuff like that. So I think this one's a bit easier to work out than most of the stuff that I do. I think it really is. You either will or you won't. And if you do, like I say, mega convenient and all the rest of it. Now, there is one other thing you could do here. Like I said from the outset, all I've done is took the second channel, or the right channel, which is the front mic, centered it, and then raised it up with a limiter to get it louder and a bit more punchier, as it were, coming out. Now, if you want to be a bit more experimental than that, you could apply some equalization, some EQing to the actual recording. And the first thing you might want to do is actually put a bass shelf on it as well, a bit of a roll off at the bottom, which could clear up some of that rumbling and whatnot, especially when you're by roads and what have you. Now, I could have gone into doing EQing and stuff, but the problem with that, quite often, that is subjective, and a lot of people may not like the way one person EQs something compared to the way another person does it, but it is always another option. So as a starting point, all I've done there is centered one channel and literally raised its volume by the way of a limiter. Anyway, so there we go. That's all I think we really need to know about this. And if you do give this a crack and all the rest of it, the one thing you're definitely going to notice is it's just super convenient. So hopefully, yes, it's going to be something that will help people to get out and do some vlogging. And even if you're thinking about getting the media mod, or you're waiting to see if GoPro fixed the issue of it not talking to the external mic adapter and stuff like that, in the meantime, it could just be a good option for you. Anyways, like I said from the start, you can catch all my GoPro videos at www.gopro9.com. You can also buy all the bits that are used through Amazon links in the descriptions below. And don't forget, if you've liked the video, or maybe you found it entertaining, and I don't know, please give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing to my channel and clicking on the bell notification icon for notification of future videos. Anyway, I'm David Harry. Thank you very much for watching this video. Take care and goodbye now.